Well, Congress remains on recess while the longest government shutdown in U.S. history continues. TSA workers are starting to get paid again after missing several paychecks, but the president's executive order making that happen is just a Band-Aid. Any long-term funding plan is on hold until the House of Representatives meets again. Congress meets again. The House of Reps are meeting tomorrow, but it is a pro forma session, so no legislative action will take place. Here to talk about the shutdown and some other issues happening today is Chicago area Congresswoman Delia Ramirez. As always, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, Dana.
Let's start with the partial shutdown. TSA workers, as I mentioned, just starting to get paid, but only because of a presidential order. Meanwhile, Congress went on a 2-week recess. It's Congress's job, of course, to make sure the government runs effectively, meaning workers get paid too. So should Congress have stayed in session to hammer out a deal?
Absolutely, Dana. We should have stayed in session. And many of my colleagues are all over the world, including my colleague from Wisconsin, who I just saw he posted it proudly in Scotland. But the reality is this. DHS, specifically ICE and CBP, are funded. ICE is fully funded because of the big ugly bill that passed in July. They have all the money. It's why none of their operations have really stopped. It's why they're hovering over TSA workers at the airport. They have enough money and enough people. But the idea that we can't fund FEMA, we can't fund cybersecurity, and certainly the Coast Guard and TSA workers is unconscionable. And Republicans are in the majority. They could have kept us. Speaker Johnson could have kept us, and Senator Thune could have kept the senators in the Senate, but they chose not to.
Was there any talk, Congresswoman, of staying? Was there any talk or discussion prior to the recess of staying in session?
Very little. But according to Speaker Johnson, he was able to shove down people's throat at the last minute a 60-day CR, these continuing resolutions that don't permanently fix anything, knowing that the Senate had already left. They already knew that the shutdown would continue, and they chose to continue this way. This is really a failure of folks that love to blame Democrats when they're the ones in control of everything. Now, let me just tell you something about this executive order. The executive order that the president issued, he could have issued 45 days ago. Nothing precluded him from doing that. But now he wants us to pass his bill on voter suppression, the SAVE Act, in conditions to be able to fully fund DHS. This is just game after game, while TSA workers are wondering if they're going to get paid next week, or if senators and Democrats, my Republican colleagues, are going to continue to play games on their lives.
Congresswoman, let's move on to another subject also in the news this morning. Arguments for and against birthright citizenship are taking place right now in the Supreme Court. The 14th Amendment, of course, guarantees birthright citizenship. President Trump wants to limit it. On social media, you called anyone who defends the president's position a white supremacist. Why such strong language?
Because this moment requires this language. We're talking about a president who wants to define who is an American and who is not. The 14th Amendment has clearly stated that anyone born in this country, whether they were born here 40 years ago or 100 years ago or 10 years ago or last year, they're birthright citizens, period. There's no question around that. But one of the very first things the president did when he became president for the second time was issue an executive order that repeals birthright citizenship and then uses taxpayer dollars to enforce this chaos of taking away people's citizenship. Let me be clear. I know Supreme Court is hearing oral arguments on a case that they had heard already before. And the point is the Constitution makes it very clear. You are born in this country, you're a United States citizen. Taking away what's already constitutionally given to you only creates chaos and fear around the entire country. For example, Dana, if they would leave this to the states, which thankfully the oral arguments of changing to the states, I think, has been affirmed, would be chaotic. But can you imagine your child is born in Texas, maybe not a citizen, but if they were born in Illinois, they are? We know what the Constitution says. The Supreme Court needs to affirm it, and the president has to stop with executive orders that are unconstitutional.
And it'll be interesting to hear what the court decides, in a few months. And finally, very quickly, for time purposes, we are hearing from the president on Truth Social within the last half an hour or so that Iran's president is asking for a ceasefire. I know the president is addressing the nation tonight about the war with Iran. Have you, I know you're on recess, but have you heard anything to confirm that Iran's president is indeed requesting a ceasefire this morning?
Dana, one of the most dangerous things that we're experiencing is that members of Congress are hearing news from the executive branch about wars through Truth Social and not directly. We should be briefed right now. Last night, we should have been briefed in a security briefing on what's happening in Iran and what this decision will be. They refused to meet with Congress, and that's why he continues to get away with this illegal war. So we don't have any details of what this announcement will be, or if in fact the president of Iran has in fact said that he wants a ceasefire. What we've heard on the ground is really the opposite, and the idea of a possible ground invasion that we're really concerned about, because you and I both know what that would mean to us and to our troops and to the entire region.
All right, 3rd District Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, thank you for joining us this morning. And we want to also mention that we've invited several area Congress members on both sides of the aisle to talk about the 2-week recess and other topics. So far, they either haven't responded, so thank you again, haven't found time, or in Senator Todd Young's case, he's from Indiana, he said no.